Isaiah 19 is a chapter in the Hebrew Bible that contains a prophecy about Egypt. The chapter speaks of a time when the Egyptians will turn to the God of Israel and make an altar to the Lord in the midst of Egypt, along with a boundary stele. This prophecy is often compared to the city of Aten, established by the pharaoh Akhenaten in the 14th century BCE. The idea of an altar to the Lord in the midst of Egypt is significant because Egypt was historically a polytheistic society with a pantheon of gods and goddesses. The construction of an altar to the Lord suggests a significant shift in religious beliefs and practices in the region. The boundary stele mentioned in Isaiah 19 is also significant because it demarcates the area around the altar as sacred and establishes a new religious boundary. The city of Aten, established by Akhenaten, also represents a significant shift in religious beliefs and practices. Akhenaten rejected the traditional pantheon of gods and goddesses and established the worship of a single deity, the Aten. He built a new city, Aten, in the midst of Egypt as a center for worship of the Aten. Like the altar to the Lord in Isaiah 19, Aten was a new religious center that represented a break from the traditional religious practices of the region. There are some similarities between the altar to the Lord in Isaiah 19 and Aten, but there are also some key differences. For example, while both represent a shift in religious beliefs and practices, the altar to the Lord in Isaiah 19 does not represent a complete rejection of the traditional gods and goddesses of Egypt. Instead, it suggests a synthesis of traditional beliefs with a new monotheistic belief system. In contrast, Akhenaten's rejection of the traditional gods and goddesses was total and absolute. Another difference between the two is the way they were established. Isaiah 19 suggests that the altar to the Lord will be established by the Egyptians themselves, as a result of their own spiritual awakening. In contrast, Aten was established by Akhenaten, who is a pharaoh with absolute power. He was able to impose his religious beliefs on the people of Egypt and build a new city for worship of the Aten. In conclusion, the altar to the Lord in Isaiah 19 and Aten represent significant shifts in religious beliefs and practices in ancient Egypt. While both represent a break from traditional practices, there are some key differences between them. The altar to the Lord represents a synthesis of traditional beliefs with a new monotheistic belief system, while Aten represents a total rejection of the traditional gods and goddesses. Additionally, the altar to the Lord was established by the Egyptians themselves, while Aten was established by a pharaoh with absolute power.